I think it's 19 and 8. When Jesus says in verse 8, and he says that Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. The word Jesus used there is apoluo. All right? So what is happening, because you have to remember, the world is a male-dominated place, right? And when God established marriage, he established the husband to lead and to make the needs of his wife his priority. 100%. Whatever she needs, I got to take care of it. I got to do it. In fact, God was so serious about that God requires a husband to love the wife, but does not require the wife to love the husband. If you disagree with me, find it in the book and show it to me, and I'll change my mind. God does not require the wife to love the husband. He requires her to submit to the husband, but the husband must love the wife. And God literally says to husbands, if you do not love her, your prayers will never be heard. He doesn't say that to the wife. So y'all can kick up at us and God is just going to come and bless y'all in your prayer time. We have to love our wives for God to hear our voice. And so what was happening in the world is men were taking advantage of that. In every culture. In most cultures, only the husband could file for divorce. In many cultures, the wife was not human. She was property. She belonged to the husband. In many cultures, the husband could have the wife executed for certain crimes against the marriage. But the wife could not do that to the husband. And so husbands were taking advantage of women. And in the Jewish community, a number of things were going on. One of the things was going on is that Jewish men were saying, you know what? I don't get enough sex from you. I don't like the way you cook. You hadn't given me enough kids. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you away. I'm going to put you out, but I'm not going to divorce you. Because as a man, I can marry multiple women. But as a woman, you cannot marry multiple women. So I'm just going to put you out or put you away, because isn't this not what Joseph was going to do to Mary? He thought to privily put her away. Shh. I won't tell anybody you got pregnant. I'll help take care of the baby, but this is your life from now on. And the women had no one to turn to. You want to know why this was also a powerful thing for men? Because God ordained for the Israelite, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, he ordained for them that God said, my covenant with you is that you will be inheritors. How many know what I'm talking about? If you go to the book of Genesis and you read between Genesis 12 and 19, how many times does God talk with Abraham about inheritance and how important it is? And then years later, when Moses comes on the scene, he leads the children out of Egypt, and he begins to get the law from God, and they begin to craft the moral laws and the ethical laws, the 613 aside from the 10 Commandments. And God said, inheritance is important. My people will always have an inheritance. And it is so important that if a man die without a son, his brother must take his wife, marry her, and give her at least one son. That was the law. This is how important inheritance is. Now, why am I saying this? Because here's what husbands would do. They would put their wife away, but because they were still married, they still had control of her dowry. And they could use her family lands however they wanted. Y'all see that? This is what Jewish men were doing. Because, see, how many know the difference between a dowry and a bride price? Ooh, that's good. Let's talk about that very quickly. The difference between a dowry and a bride price is the bride price is what a young man will pay to the girl's father to marry her. The bride price is where we get the concept of the ring from. And that is why, people said the ring should be X amount percentage of your yearly income. Because the bride price was literally an indication to the father of your ability to provide. The bride price was almost always smaller than the dowry. Because while the groom is giving the father the bride price, the father is giving the groom a dowry. And that dowry was that daughter's portion of his estate. And unless the groom was like a king or a prince, that dowry was almost always much larger than the bride price. And as long as he's married to her, the husband controlled the dowry. He could invest it, he could lend it out, rent it out, he could make all the money he wanted with it because it was his to control. The only time that girl, that wife, got the dowry back, you ready for this? Is if he divorced her. That's the only way she got it back. So what the husbands would do is they'd say, oh, no sex again this week? Oh, chicken again this week? God, they're behaving like the pagans. It can't stay like this. They're using the law, the loopholes of the law for what we have been calling the bill of divorcement. That thing work in faith, in consecration to God. These women so bad, God said, don't let them do that no more. Give them a bill of divorcement. So, but if he puts his wife out and he cannot show that she has been immoral or ungodly, he had to give her this of your hearts. Now, what that does is that set bishop, but there's a pastor that I am friends with, and this pastor is a Pentecostal pastor, and I remember I was having a conversation with this pastor about divorce a while, and this pastor noted my surprise, and this pastor said to me, I can tell you didn't expect my answer, but I'm going to tell you why I'm in favor of divorce. Just too many people in the world that if they see you won't leave, that you'll